Commander Velthar had served in the Galactic Coalition fleet for 40 cycles, and nothing ever happened. His job was simple: patrol the quiet edges of known space, check sensor readings, file reports, and return home. War was something from ancient history, a concept so old that most species had forgotten what it meant. The galaxy was peaceful. The galaxy was safe. Today would change everything. "Commander, I'm detecting something unusual," said Kree, the young science officer at the sensor station. His voice carried a note of confusion that made Velthar look up from his datapad. "Define unusual," Velthar said, setting down his reports. In 40 cycles, unusual meant a comet was off course or a star had flared unexpectedly. Kree's three eyes widened as he stared at his screens. "There's an energy signature at coordinate 793 Mark 44. It's massive, Commander. I've never seen readings like this." Velthar walked across the bridge to look at the displays. His patrol fleet consisted of 6 vessels, each one a comfortable cruiser designed for long journeys and basic scanning. They were not built for surprises. "How massive are we talking?" "The energy output is equivalent to a small star," Kree said, his voice shaking slightly. "But it's concentrated, localized. It's not natural." The bridge fell silent. Every crew member turned to look at their commander. Velthar felt his breathing quicken. An energy source that powerful could only mean one thing: technology, advanced technology. But whose? "Could it be a coalition research station we weren't informed about?" Velthar asked, though he already knew the answer. Kree shook his head. "Negative. The signature doesn't match any known coalition design. It doesn't match anything in our database." Velthar made his decision. "Send a priority message to Coalition High Command. Inform them we're investigating. All ships, follow me to those coordinates. Battle formation." The words felt strange in his mouth. Battle formation. When had the Coalition last used those words? The other ships moved into position, forming a defensive pattern that hadn't been practiced in generations. Velthar hoped they remembered how. The journey took 3 hours. With every kilometer they traveled, the energy readings grew stronger. Kree updated his estimates constantly, each number larger than the last. 2 kilometers, 5 kilometers, 10 kilometers. He was estimating the size of whatever was generating the energy. "Commander, our sensors are starting to malfunction," Kree reported. "The readings are too strong. We're getting interference on multiple frequencies." "Compensate as best you can," Velthar ordered. His hands gripped the armrests of his command chair. "I want to know what we're dealing with." Another hour passed. The fleet slowed as they approached the coordinates. Velthar ordered them to stop at 50,000 kilometers distance. Whatever was out there, he wanted room to react. "Visual confirmation in 3, 2, 1, Kree said. The main screen flickered to life and Velthar's blood turned cold. It was a ship, but calling it a ship felt inadequate. The vessel stretched across the view screen like a floating mountain. Its hull was dark gray, covered in thick angular plates that overlapped like armor. Hundreds of protrusions dotted its surface, each one clearly a weapon system. The design was brutal, efficient, built for one purpose. This was a warship. "Size," Velthar whispered. Kree's voice cracked. 15 kilometers long, Commander. 4 kilometers wide. Mass estimates are, I don't even know how it moves. The power required to accelerate something that large. "What about those weapons?" asked Velthar. "Scanning now," Kree said. His hands flew across his console. "I count over 300 visible weapon ports. Massive cannons along the spine. Missile tubes. Energy weapon arrays. Commander, this ship could destroy our entire fleet in seconds." Velthar felt sweat forming on his skin. "Does it match any known species?" "Nothing in the database," Kree confirmed. "This is a first contact situation." The words hung in the air. First contact. The Coalition had made peaceful contact with 47 species over 3,000 cycles. Every encounter had been friendly, curious, hopeful. This felt different. "They've detected us," Kree suddenly announced. The ship is changing orientation. It's turning to face us. On the screen, the enormous vessel rotated slowly. Velthar could see engines glowing blue along its aft section, engines powerful enough to move a mountain through space. The front of the ship turned toward them, and he saw more weapons. So many weapons. Broadcast standard greetings on all frequencies, Velthar ordered. Mathematical sequences, physical constants. Show them we're peaceful. The communications officer nodded and began transmitting. Seconds passed, then minutes. The massive warship remained silent, its hundreds of weapons pointed at them like the eyes of a predator. No response, Commander, the communications officer reported. They're receiving our signals, but they're not answering. Why aren't they responding? Asked another bridge officer. Are they hostile? I don't know, Velthar admitted. His mind raced through possibilities. Maybe they didn't understand the mathematics. Maybe they used different physics. Maybe they were deciding whether to destroy the Coalition fleet. Contact Admiral Kor immediately, Velthar said. Priority Alpha. Tell him we've made first contact with an unknown species. Tell him they have a warship larger than anything in Coalition space. Tell him we need orders. As the message was sent, Velthar stared at the ship on his screen. Who had built it? What species possessed technology this advanced? And most importantly, why did they need weapons like that? The Coalition had lived in peace for so long, they'd forgotten what war looked like. Velthar was looking at it now. War was 15 kilometers of armored death, silent and watching, deciding if they were worth talking to or simply destroying. Commander, we're receiving a response from High Command, the communications officer said. Admiral Kor wants us to hold position and continue attempts at communication. Additional fleets are being dispatched, but they won't arrive for 2 days. 2 days, Velthar nodded slowly. 2 days of sitting here, exposed, while that monster decided their fate. Continue broadcasting, he ordered. All frequencies, all languages. Find a way to talk to them. The bridge crew worked frantically, trying every method of communication in the Coalition database. The massive warship remained still and silent. Velthar wondered if someone was sitting on a bridge inside that ship, looking at his small fleet, deciding whether they posed a threat. He hoped whoever was inside that ship was more peaceful than their weapons suggested, because if they weren't, the galaxy was about to learn what war meant again. And this time, the Coalition was completely unprepared. The standoff continued as stars slowly moved across the void. Velthar didn't leave his command chair. He couldn't look away from that ship. Somewhere inside that mountain of metal and weapons, an unknown species was watching them. Humanity had arrived in the galaxy, and the galaxy had no idea what was coming. Captain Day stood on the bridge of the KCNS Indomitable, watching the alien fleet on his tactical display. 6 small vessels held position 50,000 kilometers away, broadcasting signals on every frequency imaginable. They were trying to talk. That was a good sign. Analysis, Hana? He asked his tactical officer. Lieutenant Hana studied her screens carefully. She was young but brilliant, chosen for this mission specifically because she stayed calm under pressure. Their formation is defensive, Captain. Weapons are charged but not locked. They're nervous but not aggressive. I'd say they're more scared of us than hostile. Day nodded. That matched his assessment. The alien ships were tiny compared to the Indomitable, barely 100 meters long each. They looked fragile, built for comfort rather than combat. Tay, what's our reactor status? Running at 15% capacity, Captain, replied Engineer Tay from his station. The chief engineer had a habit of chewing on styluses when he was thinking. We're barely warmed up and they're already panicking. I'm reading sensor scans from their fleet. They think we're putting out enough energy to power a star. We are, compared to them, Day said quietly. He'd reviewed the alien ship specifications. Their reactors were efficient but weak. The Indomitable could power 1,000 of their ships. Dr. Mira, any progress on translation? Dr. Mira looked up from her linguistic station. She'd been studying the alien broadcast for 20 minutes, her eyes red from staring at scrolling data. They're using mathematical patterns, Captain. Prime numbers, physical constants, basic physics. It's a standard first contact protocol. Very peaceful. But our database doesn't have their language or biology. I need more time to build a translation matrix. Day understood. Earth had monitored Coalition space for 50 years from hidden observation posts, but they'd never intercepted enough communication to build a full language database. They'd learned the basics, but actual conversation would take work. Keep at it, he ordered. In the meantime, broadcast our own mathematical sequences. Show them we understand their intent. Communications Officer Nari nodded and began transmitting. Day watched the tactical display, looking for any change in the alien fleet's behavior. Nothing. They held position, probably as confused as he was. Captain, one of their ships is charging weapons, Hana said suddenly, her voice sharp. Rear vessel, third from the left. Energy spike detected. Day's eyes narrowed. Targeting us? Unknown. Could be a precautionary measure. Could be a nervous captain, Hana replied. Their weapons are primitive. Particle beams, maybe low-level plasma. Won't scratch our hull. Nevertheless, Day said calmly. Defensive protocols. The Indomitable responded instantly. Across its 15-kilometer hull, armored panels slid open. Weapon ports that had been hidden now revealed themselves. Point defense cannons extended. Missile tubes opened. The 8 massive MAC guns along the ship's spine powered up with a deep hum that resonated through the deck. On the tactical display, Day watched the alien fleet's reaction. Every ship suddenly backed away, their energy readings spiking with panic. The vessel that had charged weapons immediately powered down. They got the message, Hana said with satisfaction. All alien weapons powering down. They're broadcasting on all frequencies. Dr. Mira, you're getting a lot of traffic. I see it, Mira said, working frantically. Give me a moment. The panic is helping, actually. They're broadcasting more data. I'm building a partial translation matrix now. Day watched and waited. This was the critical moment. First contact could go very well or very badly, and right now it balanced on a knife's edge. He'd powered up weapons to show strength, but he didn't want to appear aggressive. Stand down to tactical alert, he ordered. Keep the ports open but reduce power signatures. Show them we're ready but not attacking. The Indomitable adjusted its posture. Weapons remained visible, but energy readings dropped. It was a gesture, nothing more. But gestures mattered in situations like this. Captain, I've got basic translation, Mira announced. It's rough, but I can work with their mathematics. They're asking who we are, where we're from, and whether we intend to attack. They're also apologizing for the weapons incident. Apparently their commander is very nervous. Day allowed himself a small smile. Tell them we are exploratory vessel from Earth. We come in peace. We powered weapons because they powered weapons. We mean no harm. Mira translated his words into mathematical patterns and broadcast them. Seconds passed. Then a response came back. They're asking about Earth, Mira said. They've never heard of it. They want to know our technology level and why we built such a large warship if we're peaceful. That was a fair question. The Indomitable was a battleship, designed for combat. Its very existence was a statement about humanity's expectations of the universe. Tell them Earth is new to this region of space, Day said carefully. Tell them we built this ship because we don't know what's out here. We hope for peace but prepare for war. Another exchange of mathematical transmissions. Dai could see the translation was getting smoother. Mira was adapting quickly. They understand, Captain, Mira reported. They're saying their coalition has been at peace for 3,000 years. They've never seen a warship like ours. They want to establish formal contact protocols. 3,000 years of peace. Day felt a strange mixture of envy and pity. Humanity had never known peace that long. Even now, with Earth united under one government, there were still conflicts. Humans were warriors by nature. Agree to their protocols, Day said. But Hana, keep monitoring their fleet. I don't want surprises. Already on it, Captain, Hana replied. Though honestly, if they tried to attack us, it would be suicide. Our point defense systems could destroy their entire fleet before they got within weapons range. Day knew she was right. The technology gap was enormous. Earth had spent centuries developing weapons, preparing for threats, building ships that could fight and win. These aliens had spent millennia building cruise ships. Incoming transmission, Nari announced. It's audio this time. Dr. Mira's translation matrix is working. A voice filled the bridge, alien and strange but understandable through the translation software. Human vessel, this is Commander Velthar of the Coalition Patrol Fleet. I request permission to establish direct communication. Day nodded to Nari, who opened a channel. Commander Velthar, this is Captain Day of Earth's deep space battleship Indomitable. Permission granted. I'm glad we can finally talk properly. As am I, Captain Day, Velthar replied. His voice sounded relieved. I must admit, your ship is unlike anything in Coalition records. We were uncertain how to proceed. I understand, Day said. Your ship surprised us too. We've been observing this region for some time but never made direct contact. We wanted to be ready. There was a pause. Then Velthar asked the question Day had been expecting. Ready for what, Captain? Day chose his words carefully. Ready for whatever we might find out here, Commander. The universe is vast. We've learned not to assume it's friendly. Another pause. Longer this time. When Velthar spoke again, his voice was thoughtful. The Coalition has lived in peace for 3,000 cycles, Captain Day. We have no warships, no weapons like yours. If you had hostile intentions, we would be defenseless. We have no hostile intentions, Day assured him. But Commander, perhaps that's a conversation we should continue face to face. Would you be willing to meet? The alien considered this. I will need to consult with my superiors, but yes, I think a meeting would be beneficial. Your ship disturbs me, Captain Day. Not because I think you mean harm, but because I realize how unprepared we would be if you did. Day understood completely. The Indomitable was a mirror, showing the Coalition their own vulnerability. Sometimes peace lasted because no one wanted war. Sometimes it lasted because no one could threaten it. The Coalition was about to learn which type of peace they'd been living in. And Day had a feeling the galaxy was going to change very quickly. 3 days had passed since first contact. The Coalition had sent more ships, but they kept their distance. Captain Day spent the time in careful communication with Commander Velthar, building trust slowly. Dr. Mira's translation matrix improved with every conversation. Now they could discuss complex ideas, not just basic mathematics. Communications Officer Nari was reviewing the latest message from Coalition High Command when she made her breakthrough. Captain, I think I understand their concern. They keep asking about our cultural expressions and technological demonstrations. I think they want to see what we can do. Day raised an eyebrow. They want a demonstration? For cultural exchange, Nari explained. They're framing it diplomatically, but yes. They want to understand human technology. They're scared of us, Captain. They want to know exactly how scared they should be. Tactical Officer Hana snorted. If they understood our full capabilities, they'd be terrified. Maybe that's exactly what they need to understand, Day said thoughtfully. He opened a channel to Velthar. Commander, I've been reviewing your latest request. You wish to observe human technological capabilities? Velthar's translated voice came through clearly. If it would not offend Captain Day, the Coalition Council wishes to understand Earth's level of advancement. It would help with formal relations. I understand, Day replied. Would you like to observe our fighter operations? It's a routine exercise we need to conduct anyway. There was a pause. Fighters? Your ship carries smaller craft? 24 of them, Day confirmed. Would you like to watch? Yes, very much, Velthar said. Day could hear the curiosity in his voice. Day switched to internal communications. Colonel Jin, prepare a fighter demonstration. Standard combat maneuvers. Show them what we can do. In the hangar bay, Pilot Wu grinned as he received his orders. Finally, some action. He'd been cooped up in the Indomitable for months. His fighter squadron was ready, trained, and bored. A demonstration would be fun. All pilots to fighters, Wu announced over the squadron channel. We're putting on a show for the aliens. Make it impressive. 24 fighters launched from the Indomitable's hangar in perfect formation. Each one was a sleek dart of metal and weapons, built for speed and combat. Wu led them through a series of basic maneuvers first, showing off their acceleration. On the Coalition ships, sensors screamed warnings. The human fighters were pulling accelerations that should have killed their pilots. 15 Gs, 20 Gs, 30 Gs during sharp turns. No biological organism should survive that. How are they doing this? Kree asked Commander Velthar, staring at his screens in disbelief. They should be dead. Inertial dampening, Velthar whispered. They've solved inertial dampening. We've had that as a theoretical concept for 800 cycles. They've actually built it. Wu's squadron performed a split S maneuver at speeds that made them blur on coalition sensors. They reformed into attack formation, locked onto simulated targets, and scattered again. Each movement was precise, practiced, and impossibly fast. Docking sequence, Wu called out. The 24 fighters streaked back toward the Indomitable, entered the hangar in a choreographed flow, and locked into their cradles. Automated systems rearmed them, refueled them, and ran diagnostic checks. Relaunch in 3 minutes, Wu announced. 3 minutes later, all 24 fighters launched again, fully rearmed and ready for combat. Velthar's bridge was silent. 3 minutes, someone whispered. Our standard rearm and relaunch takes 45 minutes. Captain Day, Velthar called over the communication channel. That was remarkable. Your pilots are exceptionally skilled. Thank you, Commander, Day replied. Would you like to see our primary weapon system? Velthar felt a chill run through him. If the fighters were this advanced, what were their main weapons like? Yes, please. Day identified a small asteroid field nearby, uninhabited and worthless. We'll use that asteroid as a target, the large one approximately 2 kilometers in diameter. We'll fire one round from one of our MAC guns at 22% power. MAC gun? Velthar asked. Magnetic Accelerator Cannon, Dee explained. It uses magnetic fields to launch a solid projectile at very high velocity. Velthar relaxed slightly. A projectile weapon. Primitive kinetic energy. Coalition shields could handle those easily. The Indomitable rotated slowly, bringing one of its massive spine-mounted cannons to bear on the target asteroid. Inside the ship, Engineer Tay supervised the power transfer. Mach 1 charging. Projectile loaded. Tungsten rod, 200 kilograms. Acceleration to 0.15 c. 0.15 c. 15% of light speed. Fire when ready, Day ordered. The Mach cannon fired with a flash of magnetic energy. The tungsten rod, accelerated to 45,000 kilometers per second, covered the distance to the asteroid in less than a second. The impact was spectacular. The asteroid didn't just shatter, it vaporized. The kinetic energy released was equivalent to a large nuclear weapon. The flash was bright enough to damage sensors across the Coalition fleet. The shock wave from the impact traveled through the asteroid field, and 6 more asteroids behind the primary target were destroyed by high-velocity fragments. The Coalition fleet went completely silent. That was at 22% power? Velthar finally asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Correct, Day confirmed. We have 8 of these cannons. We also carry nuclear missiles, plasma torpedoes, laser arrays, and other weapon systems. Would you like to see more? No, Velthar said quickly. No, that's quite sufficient, Captain. I think we understand. But they didn't understand. Not fully. Not yet. Captain, Velthar said slowly. May I ask a question? Of course. Why does a peaceful exploration vessel need weapons like that? Day was quiet for a moment. Because we don't know if the galaxy is peaceful, Commander. We hoped it would be. But we prepared for the possibility that it wouldn't be. Earth's history taught us a simple lesson. Peace is precious, but it must be protected. Your history, Velthar repeated. Captain, the Coalition would like to learn more about Earth, about humanity. Would you be willing to share information about your species? I would, Day said. But Commander, I think that conversation should happen in person, and I think you should bring your superiors. What I have to tell you about humanity will change how the Coalition sees the universe. Velthar felt a deep unease settle into his chest. The demonstration had been terrifying enough. What could be worse than learning that these peaceful humans carried enough weapons to destroy entire fleets? I'll arrange a meeting, Velthar said. Captain Day, May I speak candidly? Please? Your ship frightens me, Velthar admitted. Not because I think you'll attack us, but because it shows me how vulnerable the Coalition has become. We've lived in peace for so long that we forgot peace sometimes needs defending. That's a wise observation, Commander, Day replied. And it's exactly why we need to talk. Because the galaxy is bigger than both our civilizations, and neither of us knows what else is out there. Velthar looked at his sensor displays, showing the cloud of debris where an asteroid had been. One shot, 22% power, 8 cannons. The humans hadn't built a battleship. They'd built a weapon powerful enough to destroy planets. And according to Captain Day, this was just one ship. Just the beginning. Velthar suddenly understood with perfect clarity. The galaxy had just changed forever. Humanity had arrived, and nothing would ever be the same again. He just hoped the Coalition would adapt quickly enough to survive in this new reality. Because one thing was certain now. There were dangerous things in the universe. The Coalition had simply been lucky enough not to meet them. Until today. Ambassador Sora stood in the Indomitable's shuttle bay, adjusting her formal diplomatic robes. She'd been traveling aboard the battleship specifically for this moment. Earth had known first contact was coming eventually. They'd prepared for decades. Are you ready, Ambassador? Captain Day asked. Sora smiled. She was a veteran diplomat who'd negotiated peace between warring Earth nations before the unification. I've been ready for 50 years, Captain. Ever since we first detected Coalition signals. Beside her stood historian Hyun, a quiet man with gray hair who carried a datapad filled with Earth's history. 2 armed Marines completed the group. Captain Day had wanted to send more security, but Sora refused. Too many guards would send the wrong message. The shuttle carried them across space to Commander Velthar's flagship. It was a beautiful ship, elegant and comfortable, built for long, peaceful journeys. Sora noticed it had only minimal weapons, barely enough for defense against asteroids. Velthar met them at the airlock. He was tall, blue-skinned, with 4 arms and large expressive eyes. He bowed formally. Ambassador Sora, welcome aboard the Luminous Dawn. I am honored to host this historic meeting. Sora bowed in return. The honor is ours, Commander. Thank you for your hospitality. They were led to a conference chamber, beautiful and open, with large windows showing the stars. 5 other Coalition representatives waited there, each from a different species. All looked nervous. All stared at the human Marines who stood quietly by the door. Please sit, Velthar said, gesturing to comfortable chairs around a circular table. We have much to discuss. Sora sat, placing her hands flat on the table in a gesture of openness. Commander, you asked to learn about humanity. I'm prepared to answer any questions. A representative from a species called the Varix spoke first. She was small, covered in soft fur, with gentle eyes. Ambassador, forgive my directness, but we must know. Why does your species build warships? The Indomitable is terrifying. Captain Day demonstrated weapons that could destroy entire planets. Why? Sora nodded. She'd expected this question first. To understand that, you need to understand Earth's history. Historian Hyun, please. Hyun activated his datapad, projecting a hologram of Earth into the center of the table. This is our homeworld. Beautiful, isn't it? It's also the most violently contested piece of territory in human history. The hologram zoomed in, showing continents and oceans. Then, it began displaying red dots. Each red dot represents a major war in human history. There have been thousands of them. The dots spread across the planet like a disease. Ancient wars. Medieval wars, modern wars. Wars over territory, resources, religion, ideology. The hologram showed empires rising and falling, nations conquering and being conquered, cities burning and being rebuilt. The Coalition representatives watched in growing horror. For most of our history, Hyun continued, humanity was divided into hundreds of separate nations. We fought constantly. We developed weapons specifically to kill each other more efficiently. Nuclear weapons, chemical weapons, biological weapons. Weapons that could end all life on Earth. But why? Asked the Varix representative, her voice trembling. Why would you do this to yourselves? Sora answered gently. Because we didn't understand each other. Because we were afraid. Because we competed for limited resources. Because sometimes, leaders valued power more than peace. Another representative, a crystalline being named Thoris, spoke up. But you're unified now. Captain Day serves Earth, not a nation. How did you stop the wars? We almost didn't, Sora admitted. 200 years ago, we came very close to destroying ourselves completely. We had enough nuclear weapons to make Earth uninhabitable. We launched some of them. The room went completely silent. The nuclear exchange lasted 6 hours, Hyun said quietly. 47 cities were destroyed. 300 million people died. When the dust settled and people saw what we'd done to ourselves, something changed. We realized we had a choice. Unite or die. The hologram shifted, showing the aftermath of the war. Burned cities, radiation zones, refugees, but then reconstruction, treaties, negotiations, nations dissolving borders, a unified government forming. It took 80 years, Sora continued, 3 generations of hard work, but we did it. Earth is unified now. We've been at peace with ourselves for over a century. Velthar leaned forward. Then why the weapons, Ambassador? If you've achieved peace, why build battleships? Because we learned a lesson, Sora replied. Peace doesn't mean safety. Unity doesn't mean security. We united Earth, but we didn't know what was beyond Earth. So we prepared. We built ships. We developed weapons. We trained soldiers. Because the universe is vast, and we refused to be victims if it turned out to be hostile. You expected hostility? Thoris asked. We hoped for peace, Sora corrected. But we prepared for war. It's a human philosophy. Hope for the best. Prepare for the worst. A third representative, an insectoid being named Crix, clicked his mandibles thoughtfully. So every human child learns warfare. Every human child learns history, Hyun said. We teach them what war costs. We show them the ruins of the nuclear exchange. We make sure they understand that violence should be the last resort, not the first. But yes, we also teach them how to fight, how to defend themselves, how to defend others. Your species sounds dangerous, Crix observed. We are, Sora agreed simply. Humanity is very good at violence. We've had thousands of years of practice, but we're also good at peace. We've learned the value of cooperation, diplomacy, and mutual respect. We're dangerous, but we're not evil. Velthar absorbed this. Ambassador, I must ask, if the coalition had been hostile when you first arrived, what would Captain Day have done? Sora met his eyes. He would have defended himself. If you had attacked, the Indomitable would have destroyed your fleet. But you didn't attack. You tried to communicate. You showed peaceful intent. So we responded with peace. And if we had been more powerful? Velthar pressed. If we'd had weapons to match yours? Then Captain Day would have negotiated, Sora said. Humanity respects strength. We're more comfortable dealing with armed powers than unarmed ones, actually. We understand military thinking. What we don't respect is aggression without cause. There was a long silence. Finally, the Varix representative spoke again, her voice sad. Ambassador Sora, the coalition has been at peace for 3,000 years. We have no warships. No weapons like yours. No soldiers trained for combat. If something hostile comes from beyond our borders, we're defenseless. I know, Sora said gently. And that's why we need to discuss an alliance. Velthar straightened. An alliance? Earth proposes a partnership with the coalition, Sora explained. We'll share our defensive technology. We'll train your security forces. We'll help you build ships capable of protecting your borders. In exchange, you share your scientific knowledge, your cultural wisdom, and your trade networks. And what else do you want? Crix asked suspiciously. Equal representation, Sora said. We're newcomers to the galactic community, but we want a voice in coalition decisions. We want a seat on your governing council. That's unprecedented, Thoris said. New species typically wait centuries before gaining full representation. Typical new species don't arrive in battleships, Sora replied calmly. Commander Velthar, please understand, we're not trying to dominate the coalition. We're offering protection. But protection works best when the protector has a say in strategy and policy. Velthar considered this carefully. The humans were right. The coalition was vulnerable. They'd been lucky to live in an empty region of space, but luck eventually ran out. Humanity was offering to be their shield, but shields had a cost. There's something else, Sora said. Something you should know before you make any decisions. What is it? Velthar asked, though he wasn't sure he wanted to know. The Indomitable isn't our only battleship, Sora said quietly. It's one of 20. And we're building more. The coalition representatives stared at her in shock. 20 battleships, Velthar repeated numbly. You built 20 ships like that? We wanted to be sure, Sora said. The galaxy is vast, Commander. 20 ships isn't enough to conquer it, but it's enough to defend ourselves. And now, perhaps to defend our friends? She stood, bowing formally. Take time to discuss this among yourselves. We'll wait for your answer. But know this. Humanity came to the stars looking for friends, not subjects. We hope you'll be those friends. As the humans left, Velthar sat in silence, staring at the empty chairs. The galaxy had changed. The coalition would need to change too, or be left behind in a universe that was suddenly much more dangerous than they'd realized. But maybe, just maybe, they'd found the allies they needed to survive it. 3 months had passed since first contact. The Coalition Council chambers on the central world of Nexus Prime were filled with representatives from 47 species, all gathered for an emergency session. This had never happened before. Full council meetings typically took years to arrange. Captain Day stood at the center of the chamber, Ambassador Sora beside him. They wore their formal uniforms, representing Earth before the gathered powers of the galaxy. Above them, the council's leader, Grand Arbiter Thel, presided from an elevated platform. The council recognizes Captain Day and Ambassador Sora of Earth, Thel announced, her voice carrying through the chamber. She was ancient, one of the oldest living beings in Coalition space, and she'd seen civilizations rise and fall. You have petitioned for full membership in the Galactic Coalition. This is highly irregular. New species typically observe for centuries before receiving full rights. Sora stepped forward. Grand Arbiter, we understand this is unusual, but these are unusual circumstances. Earth brings military capability the Coalition lacks. In 3 months, we've shared defensive technology that your scientists say will take decades to fully implement. We've offered training, protection, partnership. You've also brought fear, said a representative from the back. Many species are terrified of your warships. As they should be, Day replied calmly. Our ships are designed to inspire respect. But respect isn't the same as hostility. In 3 months, has Earth threatened anyone? Have we made demands beyond fair representation? Murmurs spread through the chamber. The answer was no. Humanity had been remarkably patient, sharing technology freely, offering assistance, asking only for a voice in return. The Council has reviewed your petition, Thel said. We have also reviewed your history, your technology, and your intentions. The debate has been intense. Many fear you. Others admire you. Some believe you will eventually conquer us. Others believe you will protect us. We will do neither, Sora said. We will be partners, equals. That's all we've ever wanted. Thel was about to respond when alarms suddenly blared throughout the chamber. Red emergency lights activated. Security officers rushed to their stations. Something was very wrong. Commander Velthar, now serving as the Coalition's liaison to Earth, ran into the chamber. Grand Arbiter, we have a situation. Long-range sensors have detected 12 unknown vessels entering Coalition space. They're not responding to hails. Pirates? Someone asked. No, Velthar said, his voice tight. These are warships, large ones. The energy signatures match vessels from ancient records. Grand Arbiter, we think they're devourers. The chamber exploded into chaos. Devourers were legend, a species that had terrorized the galaxy thousands of years ago before mysteriously disappearing. They consumed resources, destroyed planets, and enslaved populations. Most species believed they were extinct. Impossible, Thel said. The Devourers were wiped out 3,000 years ago. Apparently not, Velthar replied. They're heading toward the outer colonies. Estimated arrival in 4 hours. Grand Arbiter, our defense fleet is scrambling, but he didn't need to finish. Everyone knew. The Coalition defense fleet was designed for police work, not war. Against real warships, they would be slaughtered. Day stepped forward. Grand Arbiter, the Indomitable is in orbit. Request permission to intercept. The chamber went silent. Every eye turned to Day. You would fight for us? Thel asked. We haven't even accepted your petition. You owe us nothing. We're here, Day said simply. People are in danger. That's reason enough. Sora added, besides, this is an excellent opportunity to demonstrate Earth's commitment to Coalition security. Thel looked at Day for a long moment. Then she nodded. Permission granted, Captain Day. Protect our people. Day saluted and ran from the chamber, Sora following. Within minutes, they were aboard a shuttle racing toward the Indomitable. Contact the Vigilant, Day ordered as soon as he reached his bridge. Tell Captain Yuna we have a combat situation. The Vigilant was Earth's second battleship, which had arrived 2 weeks ago as reinforcement. Captain Yuna was younger than Day, but equally experienced. Her face appeared on the screen immediately. I'm already prepping for combat, sir, Yuna said. Rules of engagement? Protect Coalition civilians at all costs, Dai replied. Try to disable the enemy ships if possible. If they won't surrender, destroy them. Understood, Yuna said. Vigilant is ready. Both battleships accelerated toward the threatened colonies. Behind them, the Coalition defense fleet scrambled to keep up, though they were hopelessly slow compared to human vessels. The Devourers arrived at the outer colonies right on schedule. 12 massive warships, crude but powerful, began targeting civilian stations. They broadcast a simple message, surrender or die. The colonies tried to evacuate, but there wasn't time. The first Devourer ship powered up its weapons, aiming at a station housing 10,000 civilians. Then the Indomitable dropped out of faster-than-light travel directly between the Devourer and the station. All weapons, fire, Day ordered. The Indomitable unleashed hell. Mac cannons fired at full power, tungsten rounds crossing space at relativistic speeds. Missiles launched in waves. Laser arrays cut through vacuum. The lead Devourer ship's shields buckled, then failed. Then the ship itself tore apart under the assault. The Vigilant arrived seconds later, positioning itself to protect another colony. Captain Yuna's ship added its firepower to the battle. 2 more Devourer ships exploded. They're adapting, Tactical Officer Hana reported. Remaining ships are coordinating their fire, targeting the Indomitable. Good, Day said. Let them focus on us. Keeps them away from civilians. 9 Devourer ships concentrated their fire on the Indomitable. Energy weapons and missiles hammered against its shields. Alarms blared as shield strength dropped to 80%, 70, 60. Return fire, Day ordered calmly. Target their weapon systems. The Indomitable had been built for exactly this type of fight. Its armor was designed to take punishment. Its shields could regenerate. Its weapons were optimized for ship-to-ship combat. The Devourers were powerful, but they were fighting a predator built by a species that had perfected warfare. Another Devourer exploded. Then another. The Vigilant destroyed 2 more. Within 12 minutes of engaging, 8 of the 12 enemy ships were destroyed. The remaining 4 tried to retreat. Don't let them escape, Day commanded. If they report back, more will come. The 2 human battleships pursued. The Devourers were fast, but not fast enough. One by one, they were hunted down and destroyed. The last ship tried to self-destruct, but Hana disabled its reactor first. All enemy vessels destroyed, Hana reported. Coalition casualties, 0. Our casualties, 0. Minor shield damage, already regenerating. 17 minutes. The entire battle had lasted 17 minutes. Back on Nexus Prime, the Council watched the battle through long-range sensors. When it ended, the chamber was silent. 17 minutes, someone whispered. They destroyed 12 Devourer warships in 17 minutes. Grand Arbiter. Thel stood slowly. The Council will now vote on Earth's petition for membership. All in favor? Every single representative raised their hand. The vote was unanimous. Earth is hereby accepted as a full member of the Galactic Coalition, Thel announced, with all rights and responsibilities thereof. Furthermore, I propose we create a new council position, Security Director. The role will oversee coalition defense, coordinate training, and manage military assets. Captain Day, would you accept this position? Day bowed. It would be an honor, Grand Arbiter. Then it's decided, Thel said. Welcome to the coalition, Captain. Welcome to the galaxy, humanity. 5 years passed. The galaxy transformed. Humanity built 60 more battleships, positioning them throughout coalition space. Human Marines trained coalition security forces. Human engineers upgraded civilian ships with better shields and weapons. Human tacticians taught defensive strategies to species that had forgotten what war looked like. Not a single hostile force attacked coalition space after the Devourer incident. Word spread quickly. The coalition was protected now. Attacking them meant fighting humans, and humans were very, very good at fighting. Captain Day, now Fleet Admiral Day, stood on the bridge of the flagship Earthborn. It was humanity's newest and largest battleship, 16 kilometers of cutting-edge military technology. Behind him, a fleet of 100 ships waited, both human and coalition vessels working together. Commander Velthar stood beside him, now serving as his coalition liaison and personal friend. Sensors are detecting unusual activity at the edge of explored space, Admiral. Unknown energy signatures could be another threat. Day studied the tactical display. After 5 years of peace, something new had appeared, something potentially dangerous. Could be, Day agreed. Or it could be another species that needs help. Either way, we should investigate. Velthar smiled. The old commander who'd been terrified of the Indomitable was gone, replaced by someone confident in his fleet's ability to handle anything. You know, Admiral, 5 years ago I was afraid humanity would conquer the galaxy. Now, I'm grateful you're here to protect it. We didn't come to conquer, Day said. We came to explore, to learn, to make friends. The protection is just what friends do for each other. Still, Velthar said, looking at the tactical display, I pity whatever's out there if it's hostile. It has no idea what it's about to encounter. Day allowed himself a small smile. The galaxy had changed. The coalition was no longer defenseless. Peace was protected by strength now, and that strength had a name: humanity. All ships, Day ordered. Prepare for jump. Let's go see what's out there. The fleet accelerated into the unknown, ready for whatever came next. Because that's what humans did. They hoped for peace. They prepared for war. And they protected their friends. The galaxy had frozen in fear when humanity's battleships first appeared. Now it slept safely because those same battleships stood watch. Eternal guardians of a peace that would never again be taken for granted. Humanity had arrived among the stars, and the stars were better for it.